I should have known something was wrong the second I walked into the house and heard silence. Not quiet silence. The kind that feels like it's holding its breath. No TV, no music, no rustling from the kitchen. Even though I was home an hour later than usual. The front door clicked shut behind me like a lock being tested, and my gut twisted, not from fear. Something worse. Expectation. There was a wine glass on the counter. Half empty. Lipstick on the rim. Not hers. She hated lipstick, called it fake and impractical. The scent hanging in the air was foreign too. Not flowers. Not anything soft. It was bold, sharp, almost citrus with something darker beneath it. It clung to the air like someone had just walked out and didn't bother looking back. I stood there, keys still in hand, for a full minute. Something in the room buzzed. Not a literal sound. Just this presence. Like I'd stepped into a story already halfway told. Then I saw it. Cufflink. Polished silver. Resting neatly on the corner of the coffee table like a souvenir. I didn't move. I didn't scream. I didn't call out her name. I walked slowly upstairs, already knowing what I'd find but pretending, for some pathetic reason, that I could somehow twist the facts if I just walked quietly enough. The bedroom smelled like sweat and arrogance. The sheets were crooked, tangled, and not in a natural way. Her side of the bed was warm. The bathroom light was on. The shower running. I stared at the mirror above the sink, and my reflection looked calm, fake calm. Like a man dressing for his own funeral. So I did something weird. I took a pen and wrote one line in thick, black marker on a post-it. Peeled it off. Stuck it dead center on the mirror. Then I left the room. An hour passed. She came home at 3:08 a.m. Not drunk. Not ashamed. Not even tired. She walked in like a queen returning from a ball, coat flung over her shoulder like a cape. She glanced at me on the couch and said, "Didn't know you were still up." Just like that. A throwaway line. No kiss. No explanation. She passed me without waiting for a reply, heels echoing on the stairs with the confidence of someone who thinks they've already won. I didn't move. I let her go upstairs. I waited. Then I heard it. Her voice. Not a scream, not a gasp. Just this pause in her breath. And then a thud. She dropped something. Maybe her phone. Maybe her composure. That note had teeth. I'd written, "Next time you wear another man's cologne home, at least try to wash it off before you crawl into my bed." She didn't come downstairs. I didn't follow. But the war had officially started. She stayed upstairs for 20 minutes. Not a word. Not a footstep. Just the faint creak of the floorboards as she paced. The silence this time wasn't thick. It was calculating. Like she was building a strategy. Rehearsing lines in her head. Trying on different faces in front of the mirror. I stayed exactly where I was, sitting on the couch, one leg bouncing, staring straight ahead at nothing. I didn't want to be the one to break it. I wanted to see what version of herself she would choose to bring downstairs. When she finally appeared, her hair was tied back and her face was clean. That detail hit me hard. She'd scrubbed her makeup off completely. Like she needed a new skin. Or maybe like she didn't want to be looked at. Her eyes flicked to mine, calculating. She held her voice steady, too steady. "What the hell was that note?" I didn't flinch. "You tell me." She didn't answer right away. She walked to the fridge, opened it, stared inside like she was starving. Pulled out a water bottle. Twisted the cap too hard. The plastic cracked slightly. Then she leaned against the counter, arms folded, expression unreadable. "You're being paranoid again. You know how toxic that is, right?" There it was, her opening move. Accused me of toxicity. "Whose cologne is it?" I asked, not raising my voice, not blinking. She scoffed. "Are you actually doing this? You think I'd cheat on you and be dumb enough to come home wearing it?" That was interesting. She didn't say I didn't cheat. She said, "You think I'd be dumb enough to," so I just nodded slowly. "Yeah, that's exactly what I think." She slammed the water bottle down on the counter. "That's real cute, Jake. Seriously. You're so bored with your own life you have to start inventing soap opera drama now? Do you hear yourself?" It wasn't working. Not on me. But I could tell she was used to it working. The righteous indignation. The dramatic tone shift. Like she thought she could guilt me into folding. I didn't. "You left your earrings on the nightstand," I said calmly. The ones I bought you last Christmas. You were wearing different ones when you walked in. That shut her up. Not for long, but long enough. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. She recovered fast. So what? I stopped at Lily's after dinner, we swapped. She wanted to try them on. Are you gonna start checking my jewelry now? Another lie, quick and dirty. Lily had moved to Oregon in January. We'd helped her pack. The room thickened with tension. She was digging in. Not even trying to admit anything, just layering lies faster than I could peel them back. But I wasn't interested in peeling anymore. I was watching her unravel herself. Every sentence made the mask slip further. Her eyes darted, her tone cracked, her feet shifted nervously. This wasn't just denial. This was panic wearing lipstick. I stood up. You're going to tell me his name. Or I'm walking out of here and you'll never see me again. She laughed. Laughed. A short, high-pitched burst that didn't belong in the room. Oh my God, Jake. Stop being dramatic. You're embarrassing yourself. Name, I said again. Just one word this time. Her face changed. Finally. The mask shattered and what came out wasn't regret. Wasn't fear. It was something colder. A flicker of a smirk. The same one from last night. The one she'd worn while covered in another man's scent. You really want to know? She said, tilting her head. Fine. You already know him. And just like that, the entire room spun sideways. Because I did know him. But she didn't say who. Not yet. She walked right past me, brushing her shoulder against mine like none of this mattered, and disappeared back upstairs, leaving the question hanging like a loaded gun between us. I didn't follow her upstairs. Not because I didn't want to. Not because I was scared. I stayed rooted to that spot because my legs physically wouldn't move. Every possibility, every face, every handshake, every, hey man, how's she doing? From every guy I knew hit me at once. My head went blank and loud at the same time. I could still hear her voice ringing in my ears. You already know him. It echoed like a riddle from someone who enjoys watching you solve your own execution. I pulled out my phone. Not to call anyone. I opened my photo gallery. I scrolled back through the last year. Every dinner, every gathering, every birthday. Group shots. Couples nights. Her friends. Mine. I was looking for something, anything. A clue in the background. A stare held too long. A hand resting a little too close. I zoomed in on photos like a detective, but all I found was that stupid realization: when you're in love, you never look for the cracks. You frame them out of the picture. I finally stood up and went to the kitchen. The water bottle she'd slammed on the counter had rolled to the edge. I caught it before it fell. I stood there holding it, gripping it so tight the plastic groaned, and I knew one thing: I wasn't letting this hang. I needed to know who. I marched upstairs. No hesitation this time. The bedroom door was open. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, legs crossed, scrolling through her phone like it was any other night. Like we weren't in the middle of a fire. She didn't look up when she spoke. I told you. You know him. And if you're smart, you'll leave it alone. That did it. You don't get to play riddles right now. Tell me his name. She looked up slowly, her eyes sharp. No more fake confusion. No more whining. Now she looked amused. And that was worse than any of the earlier masks. You remember when your car broke down last month? She asked. I blinked. What the hell does that have to do with anything? You called your friend Ryan to help, she said casually, tapping on her phone. He picked you up from the shop. While you two were dealing with the mechanic, guess who was back here? Ryan. She dropped it like it was a fun fact. Not a bomb. I didn't plan it. Not at first, she said, staring at the wall like she was reliving it. But you should have seen the way he looked at me. Like I was free. I staggered backward. Ryan. My oldest friend. College roommate. The guy who gave a speech at our wedding. She continued, now with a tone that was almost reflective. He's confident, Jake. He listens. He doesn't just nod while looking at his phone. And he doesn't walk around the house like life's just happening to him. I didn't punch a wall. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stared at her like she was a stranger. Because she was. You let him into my house, I said, my voice low. Into our house. You let him walk through that door like he belonged here. She turned to me then. He didn't let himself in. I invited him. My stomach turned. How long? She shrugged. Does it matter? How long? She locked eyes with me. 3 months. I couldn't speak. She stood, phone still in hand. I knew you'd find out eventually. You always take too long to notice things, but you do notice. And now you have. Why? I asked. Why not just leave me? Why lie? Why drag me through this? And then she smiled. Not soft. Not sorry. The kind of smile you give someone when they finally catch up, but you're already 10 miles ahead. Because I liked watching you try. She walked out of the room. And I stood in it all alone, just me, the truth, and the shattered silence she left behind. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of the bed she'd walked out of like it was just another Tuesday with my palms resting on my knees, and I stared at the floor. Not at anything in particular, just the floor. The carpet. A small coffee stain I hadn't noticed before. The kind of thing you'd usually bend down and scrub without thinking. But I didn't move. I didn't even blink much. My brain was locked on a loop. Her words. Her face. The smirk. Because I liked watching you try. Try for what? For her attention? For her approval? For her loyalty? At 6:13 a.m. I stood up, walked to the closet, and grabbed a duffel bag. No drama. No rage. Just precision. I folded clothes slowly, not even knowing if I was planning to leave for the day or forever. I didn't pack everything. Just enough to feel like I had a plan. I didn't even hear her come back into the room. You're leaving? She asked from the doorway, voice neutral. No panic. Just observation. I didn't answer. She walked in, leaned against the dresser, arms crossed, watching me fold shirts. That's what you're doing? Running? Still, I said nothing. I zipped the bag. Then she laughed. Wow. So you do have a backbone. Could have fooled me. I turned and looked her in the eyes for a long time. And for the first time, she didn't smile. I wasn't crying, I wasn't screaming, but there was something in my face that made hers lose that shine. Maybe it was the absence of anything at all. No rage. No grief. Just the weight of done. Tell me one thing, I said, still staring at her. Did you enjoy hurting me, or was that just a side bonus? She looked like she might respond. Her mouth opened slightly, but she paused. That second of silence was louder than any answer. And then she did something I'll never forget. She stepped closer and said, almost gently, You weren't enough for me, Jake. And deep down, you knew it. And there it was. The final nail. The confirmation that this wasn't a slip-up. This wasn't regret. This was designed. Constructed. I let out a small breath. Almost a laugh. And Ryan? What? He's your future now. She tilted her head. He doesn't complicate things. He knows what I want. He gives it without question. You mean he doesn't ask for honesty? I said. Her expression didn't change. He knows better than to expect perfection. But he knows you lied. To your husband. Your best friend. You think he trusts you? She leaned in slightly, whispering like she was revealing a punchline. He trusts that I'll do what I need to do. And just like that, I understood. This wasn't about Ryan. This wasn't even about me. This was about power. She wanted to feel untouchable. Indispensable. Like every man around her revolved in her gravity. Whether they knew it or not. I picked up my bag. She moved aside without a word. Before I reached the stairs, I stopped. I turned and looked at her one last time. You'll need someone new to lie to now. Then I walked out. She didn't stop me. Didn't call after me. Didn't even close the door. She just let it swing open behind me. Like the end of a scene she no longer cared about. I didn't go to a hotel. That would have felt too temporary. Like I was waiting for her to call. Like I'd keep checking my phone, hoping for an apology that would never come. Knowing I'd crawl back if it did. No, I needed something more brutal than that. So I went to my brother's place. He opened the door in gym shorts, half awake. And before I could say a word, he just stepped aside and said, Yeah, come in. No questions. He looked at the duffel bag and the hollow in my face and knew it wasn't a casual visit. I sat on his couch for hours while the TV played some muted cooking show. The kind where they burn sugar into lace and call it art. It was almost funny, the absurdity of it, people somewhere worrying about dessert while I sat there trying to remember how to breathe properly. Around noon, he brought me coffee and sat across from me, arms folded. "So, what did she do?" And I told him. All of it. Every word. Every lie. Every moment leading up to her smiling while covered in another man's scent. I told him about the note. About her dropping Ryan's name like a dead bird at my feet. I told him how she stood in our bedroom and said I wasn't enough. That she liked watching me try. He didn't interrupt. Not once. Just sat there and listened, his face darkening by degrees. And then he said, "You want me to call him?" "No," I said immediately. "I don't want anything from either of them." But that wasn't entirely true. I did want something, I just didn't know what yet. Revenge felt too small. Walking away felt too clean. There was something building in me. Not anger exactly, but a cold clarity. And in that space, something clicked. I reached for my phone and scrolled back through my texts with Ryan. There it was. "Yo, tell Amanda I'll be late to dinner. Traffic's murder." A message from 2 weeks ago. From my phone. Sent at 6:48 p.m. The night she came home in heels and smugness. But I hadn't sent it. She had. She used my phone to buy time. To cover for him. They had been doing this longer than 3 months. I'd bet my life on it. And suddenly I remembered something else. A conversation with Ryan 6 months ago, when he mentioned wanting to borrow my grill. Said he'd stop by that Saturday when I was at the office. I'd brushed it off. But now I realized he didn't want the grill. He wanted access. To her. To my home. To the image of loyalty I'd been so proud of. My brother leaned forward. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," I said slowly, "that I've been blind in plain daylight." Then I stood up and grabbed my coat. "Where are you going?" "To get back something that's mine." I didn't know exactly what I meant. Not yet. But there was something she'd taken from me, something bigger than trust. And I was going to take it back. Piece by piece. I didn't go back to the house, not yet. Instead, I drove. No destination. Just the sound of the tires humming beneath me and my knuckles clenched tighter than I realized. The city blurred past in streaks of light and faces I didn't know. I wasn't running, I was tracking. Something inside me had switched. Not into revenge mode, not exactly. It was something colder. Sharper. Cleaner. I stopped outside Ryan's apartment. I didn't even remember deciding to come here. My hands moved on their own, guided by memory. I sat in the car across the street and watched. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, a light in the window? A silhouette? A crime scene replay? But then I saw her car. Parked right out front. She wasn't even hiding it anymore. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the level of disrespect was now so loud it echoed. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation. And the worst part was how casual they were about it. Like I wasn't even part of the equation anymore. Like I was already erased. I could have gone up. I could have knocked, kicked in the door, made a scene. But instead, I reached into the glove compartment and pulled out an envelope I'd stashed earlier. Inside it, a set of printed photos. Proof. Screenshots of her location history from our shared accounts, which I'd quietly downloaded before leaving the house. Messages between her and a saved contact under a fake name. A tracking receipt from when she used my card to book a hotel while I was out of town visiting my parents. I stared at them. Then sealed the envelope again. Taped it shut. And wrote one word on the front in bold, all caps, "Enjoy." Then I stepped out, walked up to the apartment building, and slipped the envelope into the mail slot of Ryan's door. Let him read the truth from my hands. Let him see that she was sloppy. Let him feel the crack where trust splits, just the way I had. I turned, walked back to the car, and for the first time in 2 days, I felt something close to peace. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Back at my brother's place, I opened my laptop. Every shared password. Every account. The Spotify profile I paid for. The Amazon account under my name. The shared Netflix she'd given to her friends. All of it revoked. Disabled. Cancelled. My accounts, my money, my time. Gone from her world. I left one thing active. Our shared calendar. And I created a single event. Title, Ask Ryan where he was on February 9th. Description, I wasn't out of town. I was watching from the hallway. Let that sit with her. Let her wonder what else I'd seen. Because I wasn't just walking away from her. I was making sure every door she thought was open slammed shut loud enough for her to hear it for the rest of her life. This wasn't revenge. This was returning the favor. I didn't hear from her for 2 days. Not a text. Not a call. Not even a petty attempt to gaslight me or twist the knife further. Radio silence. And you know what? That silence spoke louder than any argument ever could. It meant she was scrambling. Or worse, calculating. That terrified calm she wore like perfume was probably back on her face, sitting across from Ryan, feeding him whatever version of the story kept her untouchable. But I knew what was coming. I didn't have to wait long. On the third day, a message came in at 2:14 p.m. Just a number flashing across my screen, no name, but I knew it was her. I stared at it for a few seconds before I answered, more curious than angry. "You think you're clever?" she said, skipping hello. I didn't answer. "Do you really think you're going to make me look bad?" To him? That's cute. There it was again, that smug tone. Like she still thought she had the upper hand. "You lied to him," I said plainly. "Multiple times." I just pulled the curtain back. She laughed. Laughed. "You think he didn't know?" God, Jake, you really still don't get it. He doesn't care about loyalty. He doesn't want some neat little fairy tale. He wants me. All of me. The mess, the danger, the chaos. And you," she paused, voice dropping, "you just wanted me to fit into some version of your perfect little life." There it was. The core of it. The truth behind all the manipulation. She didn't want to be loved. She wanted to be admired. Worshipped. Kept in a glass box that she could smash whenever she felt like proving she was still sharp. "He'll get tired of you," I said. "No," she replied instantly. "You got tired. He won't. He knows what he's getting. He chose it." "So did I said. Until I realized the cost. Spare me the noble act. You're not some tragic hero, Jake. You're just another guy who thought I'd stay predictable." There was a pause. I could feel her breathing through the silence, like she was waiting to see if I'd fight back, beg, argue, feel something. But I didn't. Because something was shifting again, only this time not inside me. "You know what the real difference between him and me is?" I finally asked. "Enlighten me." "When you crash and burn and he'll walk away laughing." I stayed. She didn't say anything to that. Not right away. Then, quietly, "You'll regret walking away from me." I smiled to myself. "No. But you'll regret showing me who you really are." I hung up. No dramatic ending. No screaming match. Just the sound of a call dropped into silence. I sat back and let the stillness settle around me. My hands weren't shaking. My chest wasn't heavy. For the first time in weeks, my thoughts didn't feel like a wildfire. She had nothing left to threaten me with. She used her best weapon, herself, and I'd survived it. But I wasn't done yet. There was one final truth to deliver. Not to her. To him. I didn't deliver it in person. I wanted to. I imagined it, standing at Ryan's door, handing him a folder thick with receipts, timelines, overlapping lies she told him, and me watching the weight of it collapse onto his smug face. But that would have been too easy. Too obvious. He needed it to slip in the way she slipped into his life. Quiet. Smooth. Undeniable. So I mailed it. No return address. Just a manila envelope with his name printed cleanly across the front. Inside? A letter. Not dramatic. Not angry. Just facts. Laid out like a puzzle that already solved itself. A copy of the hotel receipt she used his birthday as the check-in alias for. Screenshots of her texting another man, not me, not him, on a night she told Ryan she was with me. A picture of the two of us from our anniversary 3 months ago, timestamped the exact same night she told Ryan I was out of state. And at the end, a single, final line. "I hope she told you what she told me. He doesn't ask for honesty. You're about to find out why." I sent it on a Thursday. Priority mail. By Saturday, I had the fallout. It came through mutual friends. I didn't even have to ask, they were buzzing. Apparently Ryan hadn't taken it well. There was a scene. Yelling. Doors slammed. One of our mutuals said she saw her sitting in her car outside his apartment for 2 hours, just staring at her steering wheel. She eventually left. Alone. By Sunday, she texted again. Just one word. Why? I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I'd already said it all, with silence, with proof, with precision. That question was never really meant for me anyway. It was her wrestling with the sudden vacuum where her control used to live. But the real twist? Monday morning. Ryan called me. I let it ring out. He called again. Then he texted, "Need to talk." It's not what I thought. Now that caught me. Not because I was tempted. Not because I cared what he had to say. But because it meant she was doing what she always did, reinventing the story. She'd probably thrown me under the bus 6 different ways. Said I manipulated the evidence. Claimed I was jealous. Bitter. That I faked it all. She wasn't just a liar. She was a narrative artist. And Ryan? He was her next exhibit. But I wasn't stepping back into that gallery. I wasn't going to argue, defend, or explain. Not to him. Not to anyone. If he wanted to believe her lies, he could sink with them. If he wanted the truth, he already had it in writing, in receipts, in the facts I bled out of myself to gather. I texted him back 4 words, "You already know enough." That was it. No more chasing. No more explaining. No more trying to untangle her mess. I wasn't going to be a character in her next performance. I was walking out of the theater altogether, mid-show, house lights on, door slamming behind me. And as I stepped further out of the wreckage of it all, I realized she hadn't just underestimated me. She'd mistaken my silence for weakness. And now? She was sitting in the ruins of her own game. Alone. I didn't expect peace to feel like this. Not triumphant. Not even satisfying. Just quiet. Like a storm had blown through my life and taken everything down with it, and now I was standing in the rubble, but at least the wind had stopped. No more lying footsteps coming up the stairs. No more questions hanging like knives above my head. Just space. And silence. And the faint echo of a version of myself I'd finally buried. I changed my number. That was the final nail. Not out of fear she'd keep calling, though she tried, of course. 3 more texts from different numbers. The last one said, "You think you won, but you're going to be so bored without me." I didn't even feel anger reading it. It felt like watching a child throw a tantrum after being denied candy. Loud. Pointless. Desperate. But then came something I hadn't prepared for. Her mother called. I didn't answer at first, but she left a voicemail. Calm voice. Soft. Like she was delivering bad news. She didn't quite believe herself. "Jake, I don't know what's going on between you two, but I wanted to tell you that I never believed what she said about you. Whatever she's saying now, I know you. I always did." I listened to it 3 times. Because part of me didn't know if I was crazy. That's what emotional betrayal does. It distorts your reflection. Makes you question everything you were just for loving the wrong person too long. But hearing her mother, the woman who once told me I was the best thing that ever happened to her daughter, acknowledge that something was off, it hit. I called her back. We talked for 20 minutes. She didn't fish for details. She didn't try to fix anything. She just listened. And when I said, I didn't leave her because she cheated, I left because she enjoyed it, she went quiet for a long time. Then she said, "That's not the first time I've heard that about her." I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't need to. That was the thing. The deeper I looked, the clearer it all became. This wasn't just a one-time betrayal. It was a pattern. One she hid under charm, intelligence, and fake vulnerability. She weaponized pain. She tested limits. And when people finally walked away, she called them weak. But I wasn't weak anymore. I went back to the house that weekend. Not to see her. She was gone. The place felt hollow. Like something had been extracted from it. I walked through the room slowly, picking up the things I wanted. Not everything. Just mine. Just the pieces that reminded me who I used to be before I started orbiting around her approval. In my office, I found a framed photo face down on the shelf. I turned it over. It was from our honeymoon. We were smiling. But her eyes, even then, she looked like she was already 10 steps ahead. I left the photo exactly where I found it, face down. As I locked the door behind me and walked down the front steps, I realized something that made my chest tighten in the strangest way. I wasn't angry anymore. Not even hurt. I was free. And she was finally facing the thing she'd spent years running from, herself. The last thing I did before truly letting go was something small. Stupid, even. But it mattered to me. I sat down at a coffee shop. Somewhere new. Somewhere I didn't associate with her. And opened my laptop. I created a new email. Clean one. No shared history. No memory of her contacts. Then I wrote a single message and sent it to myself. Subject. Reminder body, you didn't lose her. You lost the illusion. You didn't get betrayed. You got unchained. You didn't break. You woke up. And with that, it was done. No more checking her social media to see if she was posting cryptic nonsense. No more waiting for mutual friends to accidentally mention her name. No more holding on to moments like they meant anything now. The truth had taken up permanent residence inside me, and for once it wasn't heavy, it was solid. She tried to rewrite history. That was her real talent. Not the affair, not the lies, those were just symptoms. Her gift was making people doubt their own version of events until they folded. Until they apologized for bleeding after she cut them. But I didn't fold. I remembered. The way she strutted in that night, soaked in another man's scent like she was proud of it. That smirk, that venomous silence, that moment when I realized she wasn't hiding anything because she didn't care anymore. And how all of that melted when she saw the note I left taped to the mirror. That moment, that was when the tide turned. Because liars need control. And I took it back. I'd rebuilt my life now. Different place, different people, new routines. The air felt different. Not because she was gone, but because I was back. The version of me that trusted his instincts. That didn't need anyone to validate his worth. That stopped trying to keep people who only stayed when it served them. People ask sometimes, how do you get over something like that? You don't. You go through it. Bare, ugly, confused. You crawl through the wreckage and piece together what's left. And eventually you stand up. Wiser. Sharper. Untouchable. As for her? I don't know where she is now. Maybe with Ryan. Maybe not. Maybe she's charming her way into someone else's life, painting herself as misunderstood. Or maybe finally someone's seeing through her the way I learned to. But it doesn't matter. She's not my story anymore. This is. And if you're reading this, if you're where I was, confused, heart pounding, staring at the ceiling, wondering if you're overreacting, listen carefully. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. You know when something's wrong. And you have every right to walk away from someone who looks you in the eye and smiles while setting your world on fire. Just make sure when you walk, you never look back. Not for them. Not for closure. Not even to say goodbye. They already said it the moment they chose someone else over you.